One of these years I'll get to kick off Pride in a more enjoyable way. Hey there, everybody. So, I said in a few places, including the community tab on this channel as well as on Twitter, that I am not going to make a video talking about J.K. Rowling and the latest things that she said. I made a video already back in December talking about the last round of things, and nothing that has come to pass in the last, I guess, week or so in terms of when this goes live has done anything to alter that perception. It's only solidified it. If you want a breakdown of what's gone on, I'm going to recommend a video by Jessie Gender. She does a really great job explaining what was said and why it's a problem. Link in the description. But the whole thing did still spurn on a train of thought. So while I am not going to talk about any of that specifically, I am going to talk about the broader topic of consuming and processing media that you love created by problematic individuals. Now, I'm going to talk about this in pretty broad terms, but there are three main examples that I am going to keep coming back to. Now, if you like the works of these three people, that's fine. If you actually are intending to go to bat for these people, I would rather you didn't, not because I have a problem with you defending them, but because I'm not trying to do takedowns of the three things I'm going to mainly be citing. I'm simply using them as examples. This is a broad topic with lots of application. So, when it comes to creators or things of that nature that we find out bad things about, and that's usually the way it is. It's pretty rare that someone who already has done or has said really detestable things creates something that people enjoy after that is public. Usually the creation of whatever it is they're known for is going to happen first. Now, in terms of whatever is the objectionable thing, it comes in two main flavors: detestable actions and detestable beliefs. Now, detestable actions is not really what I'm going to be talking about today because, honestly, I think that one might even be more sort of personal gauge because it really just depends on what sort of things are enough to push your own personal factor. So, you may or may not be able to still watch films by Woody Allen or Roman Polanski, or listen to the comedy of Bill Cosby, or watch a movie with Kevin Spacey. That's a personal call. And I think in cases like that, a lot of it is just going to have to do with your own personal level of about all of that. The other thing is, I am going to be talking about, well, the examples I'm going to cite are primarily authors, and there's a reason for that as well. Because when you talk about larger art forms like, say, film or video games is another good example, it can become a little bit of a hair-splitting exercise in trying to determine how much was the person who I have problems with contributing to this whole thing. For myself, Harvey Weinstein, absolutely atrocious human being, produced a lot of really good movies that I will probably continue to watch because as a producer, he was not the creative force behind them. He was the financial force behind them. Now, it is probably still a fact that those movies would not have been made, or at least would not have been made in the way that they were without his involvement. But I still feel like you're not going to feel his hands on the project in terms of taking it in as a piece of art. And with something like video games or anything with a large development team, or take something like Minecraft, it gets even more complicated. There's a number of reasons why some people have a lot of issues with the original creator of Minecraft, known as Notch. But the thing is, he's not directly involved with the game anymore, and it's an ongoing, constantly updated thing. So it's an evolving piece of art and entertainment that the person that a lot of people have issues with doesn't touch anymore. Is that enough of an issue? I don't know. And that's actually going to be part of the thing here. I'm not going to tell you how to process this. I'm not going to tell you what you should do. But I am going to talk through the phenomena in general, because I think the one thing you shouldn't be doing is ignoring it and pretending like it's not there. Like I said, I'm not really going to focus on objectionable actions. I'm going to focus primarily on objectionable beliefs, thoughts, statements. So when you run into that with creators, you're usually dealing with one of three scenarios. Either the beliefs that they have that you find objectionable are not in evidence in the work itself, meaning that whatever it is that they have said or believe that you have serious problems with, that does not appear to be a core feature of the stories that you enjoy from them. So that's one possibility. There is the possibility that the things that this person is espousing appear to be in direct contradiction to the themes of the work that you love by them. But then there's also the possibility that the objectionable things about this person are very evident in the work and may even be central to the work. And we're going to talk about all three of these, but before even that, let's also talk about whether or not the objectionable creator is still alive, because if they are deceased, if they are passed away, then you don't have to parse the fact that enjoying their art or buying art by them, or if it's a franchise style thing, getting merchandise that is branded with the art that they have created, that is not going to financially benefit them directly if they're dead. If they're alive, you do have to come to terms with that to some degree. It may also depend on how much research you're willing to do, because depending on the nature of certain merchandising deals or deals for film rights or things like that, they may or may not get residuals on a per purchase basis, and it may have been they were just paid once for a merchandising thing and they've already got their money and you're not really contributing to them. If you want to do the research to figure out what the residual scheme is for those people, more power to you. I don't have it in me to do that, but if you want to go to those lengths, you can, if the idea of putting money towards people with fundamentally objectionable beliefs to you, as far as that goes, if you want to put in the work, go for it. I can't. I don't have it in me. So I said there's three examples that I'm primarily going to be citing, because they're going to cover all three of the situations I talked about. I'm going to be discussing Orson Scott Card, J.K. Rowling, and H.P. Lovecraft. I'm going to be talking about somebody with homophobic beliefs, transphobic beliefs, and racist beliefs. Now, again, if you don't find those beliefs that they have to be objectionable, just imagine applying this elsewhere. So let's start with Orson Scott Card, who is the writer of Ender's Game. Now, I need to confess up front, I have not actually read Ender's Game, so this is the one I am speaking on with the least amount of authority, because I am going off of a little bit of research that I've done into the work. I have never read it, and I don't intend to, because I know too much about Orson Scott Card and his deeply homophobic beliefs. Now, this is an example of the first thing that I mentioned, at least so far as I understand the work, and looking at the themes and write-ups about it, etc. Homophobia is not core to, and homophobic mentality is not core to Ender's Game. It may show up in some of his other works, but let's be honest, Ender's Game is what the guy's best known for. It's going to be his legacy, always and forever. And that is a story about manipulation, rebelling against authority, about trauma to a certain extent. It's about conditioning. It's dealing with a lot of things, but not a ton of which draw a direct applicable transition into being espoused as homophobic or being any kind of analog for that. So that is a case where the work doesn't really appear to cross over with the beliefs. With J.K. Rowling, we actually have a case where the beliefs that she espouses in regards to the intolerance she appears to have towards transgender people, the very idea of intolerance is antithetical to a lot of the themes of Harry Potter, which is about finding your place in the world, finding other people like you, coming into your own and discovering things about yourself and finding a place in the world, or discovering a world in which you fit better than the one in which you previously existed. These aren't specifically trans themes, but they are highly inclusive themes. So the idea that she holds exclusionary beliefs is actually in opposition to the themes of the work that she is best known for, which makes it a little bit weird. Lovecraft and Lovecraft's racism. So here's the thing about Lovecraft. People have tried to defend him, saying, for the time that he wrote, everyone was racist. Possible, or at least most white people in New England might have been to a certain extent, but if you look into the guy very much, even for the time, he was a bit much. But more to the point, whether he is more or less racist for the era doesn't matter. His racism is actually core to the type of story that he writes. And I don't just mean because there are a handful of his stories with specific instances of, very badly caricatured and nastily written non-white characters, even in ones where only white characters appear. What is the core of his horror? It is fear of the unknown. And if you look into Lovecraft at all, his major fear in real life of the unknown had to do with people that didn't look like him. He had a lot of fear around that. And he poured it into his work and extrapolated it out into this cosmic level, which is honestly, it's what a lot of good horror does. It takes a fear that the creator has and expands it and blows it up into something bigger and more horrifying and a little bit less specifically personal to them. So taking this fear of these people out there that I don't understand and I'm afraid of, and blowing it up into this fear of these entities that are inconceivable and dangerous. That's what you get. But that core belief, that fear of the unknown, his fear of the world he didn't understand and of people he could not relate to, is at the thematic heart of nearly everything he ever wrote. Does this mean you cannot enjoy these works? Because the fact that he was a racist is probably a big part of the reason why he wrote what he wrote in the way he wrote it, even in stories where race does not enter into the narrative directly. Can you still enjoy the works of J.K. Rowling and anything related to Harry Potter when she is espousing this anti-trans sentiment? Or Orson Scott Card, who actively campaigned and contributed money towards political causes to try and stop homosexual rights. Can you still enjoy their works? Like I said, that is a personal call in a lot of ways. But as someone who is rather fond of the concept of death of the author, I think it's possible. And I would say, it depending on your feelings about the financial things, maybe you don't want to contribute more money to them. So the question for me becomes, can you still read the works that they have put forward and find enjoyment in them? Some people can, some people can't. But the thing to remember is your read of their work is yours. The experience that you had reading the stories that they wrote is your experience, whether it was the one they intended for you to have, whether your experience and your way of connecting with these works is antithetical to the beliefs of the author, your experience cannot be taken away from you. And I think with something like Harry Potter, where not only the works but the fandom has largely pushed back. Daniel Radcliffe, the actor who played Harry Potter, wrote a wonderful piece in support of transgender people and trans rights. She may have created this world, but she does not get to dictate how people connect with it, and she does not get to dictate the fandom. I had notes that I wrote down for this to sort of sketch out this video and what I was going to talk about. And it's in a notebook with the Marauder's map on it from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And I'm not getting rid of this, because this was a gift. One of my subscribers sent this to me. And so the way that I relate to this is not by connecting it to her, but by connecting it to someone who likes what I do and sent me a lovely gift. And I am going to use it. And I don't have to think about her when I do. I'm going to continue to read the Harry Potter books to my child because she enjoys them. And because I can have this, I can reframe my experience of Harry Potter as my reading these to her and sharing these stories with her. It does not have to be my relationship with the writer. I can make it about my relationship with my daughter. Because my daughter's not transphobic. There are things we can do to reclaim. Whether it is finding a way to reframe your experience of the work, kind of like what I'm doing with Harry Potter and getting to read it to my kid. Whether it is creating fan art, fan fiction that takes the characters and puts them into the perspective that you connect with best. That can help. That can be cathartic to create that or to read that. Like I said near the start, there is no right way to process this, and there is no right conclusion to come to, but I do think it is important that you process this in one way or another. Because the things we love are created by people, and people are fallible. And refusing to think about these things, and to think, just separate the artist from the art and don't think about it. The art would not exist without the artist. The art does not exist in a vacuum. So to pretend like the artist didn't create it and it was just there, that's not how anything works. So ignoring the issue, I don't think is good for anyone. I think that's just repression and kicking the can down the road. But I do think that with some of these things, it is possible to process it, to work through it, to come out the other end going, I can still enjoy this because it enriches my life and my experiences by my connection with this work, with this art. And this does not have to connect me with the artist whom I find issue with. I don't know if folks found this helpful. I didn't have as much of a grand overall point this time. This is partially therapeutic for me for obvious reasons. I kind of needed to talk about the subject without breaking down through Rowling again like I did last time. I don't have it in me. This is a crazy month. This is a crazy year. This is a crazy time. If you choose to do anything for Pride, I hope you have fun. If you choose to do nothing for Pride, that is fine too. We will get through this in some way. We will fight, and we will get through. Thank you very much for watching. Remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I just run the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. Hopefully next time we can do something more fun. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still listening, you can support me on Patreon. There's a link in the description. And of course, even if you're not able to do that, liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, all of these things help. And I wish you the best of times that you can have with everything going on. Be safe, be well, be kind.